What happens if we survive?
Predator, Killer of Killers recap.
Because our enemy still lives.
We must fight together.
The movie begins in the year 841 AD, in a brutal age of conquest and revenge. A fearsome Viking warrior woman named Ursa leads her formidable army into battle against the savage Kravich tribes. Her son, Anders, riding beside her, optimistically tells her their warriors will rejoice in returning home with more gold than they can carry. But Ursa is quick to correct him. This war is not about treasure, it is about vengeance. About erasing the memory of their enemies who still dare to breathe. She reminds her son she hopes his spear draws blood by nightfall. As they reach Kravich territory, a storm of arrows greets them. Yet despite the ambush, the Vikings slaughter every tribesman in their path. They leave only one alive for interrogation. Ursa demands the location of the Kravich leader, Zoran, but when the prisoner refuses to speak, she tortures him savagely, until she reveals Zoran has built a fortress high above Lake Ladoga, far to the east. Ursa then hands her axe to Anders, asking him to deliver a merciful death. But the man's last words, that Anders will never enter heaven if he kills an unarmed prisoner, shake him. Frozen by doubt, he hesitates. Ursa, disappointed in her son's weakness, finishes the execution herself and walks away with a look of scorn. That night, as the army rests, Ursa sits with Anders and shares the truth of their bloody legacy. Zoran had once invaded their homeland, defeating her father, King Honor, and leaving him half dead. The king begged Zoran not to harm Ursa, but the warlord offered a cruel choice. Either the king dies by Ursa's hand or Ursa by his. Ursa, tearful and shaken, killed her own father, his last words a plea for revenge. At dawn, Ursa and her warriors attack Zoran's mountain fortress. Though outnumbered, they are unshakable, carving a path through enemy ranks with unmatched skill. Ursa, wielding only shields instead of a sword, proves to be a force of nature, mowing down men like grass. Eventually, they breach Zoran's throne room. The warlord mocks Ursa, blaming her weakness for her father's fate. But before he can finish, Anders kills Zoran with a sudden spear strike to the neck. However, just as victory seems certain, an invisible force knocks Anders away. Something unnatural is among them. Out of nowhere, a hulking predator appears. It tears through Ursa's warriors with terrifying ease. When it sets its sights on Anders, Ursa leaps on its back and attacks. But the predator uses advanced alien tech to hurl her off a cliff. She plunges into the lake below, barely surviving. As the creature hunts her, she cunningly traps it by tying a heavy object to its arm and dragging it underwater. The predator can't escape. As it tries one last attack, Ursa reflects its weapon with her shield, killing it. She climbs ashore, triumphant, only to find Anders fatally wounded. He dies in her arms, and her screams echo through the trees. The film then leaps centuries forward to Japan in the year 1609. Twin brothers, Sin and Lee, sons of the shogun, play innocently with a paper boat. As no one knows which twin is older, their father decides to let sword combat determine the heir. Though Lee is the better fighter, he refuses to battle Sin. But Sin strikes him when his guard is down, winning the duel and the crown. Lee, betrayed, disappears into exile. 20 years later, as Sin is crowned the new shogun after their father's death, Lee hears the ceremonial bell toll from the forest. Fueled by vengeance, he retrieves his sword, his sacred katana, and infiltrates the palace. Silently killing guards, Lee nearly succeeds in his stealth until one alarm is triggered. Sin prepares to defend himself, but Lee deploys red gas, eliminating the guards instantly. The twin brothers clash in a ferocious battle. Though Lee is superior, he does not kill Sin, instead only scarring his face as Sin had done to him long ago. When Sin stumbles and falls from the rooftop, Lee is horrified by what he's done. As he mourns, blaming their father's choices, a predator appears. Lee flees through rooftops while the guards face the predator, dying gruesomely. Eventually, Lee is cornered at the town's river gate. Shockingly, Sin, still alive, reappears to challenge him. But Lee warns him that a greater threat is here. As if on cue, the predator attacks, and Sin throws himself in front of his brother, taking a fatal blow. The two unite, determined to stop the beast. Together they fight fiercely, but are nearly overpowered until Lee discovers a bomb on the predator's gear. He uses it to severely wound the creature. Then, side by side, the brothers hack it limb by limb until it dies. But Sin succumbs to his injuries, and Lee is left grieving once more. The story then shifts to Florida, 1941. A young man named Miho drives through town, admiring planes overhead. When his car breaks down, he calls his mechanic father, who scolds him for dreaming of becoming a pilot while lacking basic skills. A year later, Miho becomes a mechanic working on military aircraft. His commander Vandy promises to let Miho fly if he can fix a nearly unfixable plane. Miho fails, but before he can redeem himself, alarms ring. Aircraft are being attacked mid-air. Survivors report the attacker is not human. Miho investigates and discovers a strange weapon that flies away on its own. Desperate to warn the others, Miho takes to the skies in a barely functional plane. Too late. The Predator has already returned, this time with a high-tech aerial vessel. It disables aircraft by targeting their engines. Miho urges retreat, but Vandy refuses. The Predator kills every pilot except Miho and Vandy. Miho deduces that turning off the engines might render the Predator's weapons ineffective. Vandy sacrifices himself so Miho can take a shot. Though his strike doesn't destroy the ship, Miho maneuvers it into enemy territory. Vietnam forces, thinking it's hostile, open fire, accidentally destroying the Predator vessel. Months later, Miho resumes work in his shop, but one day a massive Predator ship descends, abducting him. He awakens on board, surrounded by other humans and dozens of predators. A translation collar is placed around his neck. In the prison cell, Miho finds himself face-to-face with Ursa and Lee, both captured from their timelines. At first, the language barrier and mutual suspicion keep them apart. Then, they are dragged to an arena and confronted by the Predator King, who reveals the collars not only translate but can also explode. He orders them to fight to the death. Each is given a weapon from their era. Ursa attacks Miho, but Lee intervenes. He tries to reason with her, explaining that cooperation is what helped him and Sin kill a predator. Sensing the alliance, the Predator King releases a monstrous beast into the arena. The beast swallows Miho, but inside its belly, Miho finds a weapon and wounds it from within while Ursa and Lee attack from outside. Together, they kill the creature. The body is dumped into a pit. Miho still inside, presumed dead. Only Ursa and Lee remain. Ursa attacks, but Lee is the better fighter and refuses to strike. Eventually, he lays down his sword. Moved, Ursa also surrenders. Furious, the Predator King tries to detonate their collars, only for Miho to reappear with a stolen remote, deactivating them just in time. The three escape aboard a Predator vehicle, but the King intercepts them. In one final battle, Lee uses his sword, Ursa defends with her shield, and Miho pilots the craft. As the ship lifts off, the King strikes, severing Lee's arm. Knowing they cannot all make it, Ursa sacrifices herself to delay the King, giving Miho and the wounded Lee a chance to escape. As the Predator King watches their ship flee, he summons his hunters. Below them, rows of imprisoned humans are revealed, suspended in pods. Predator, killer of killers, ends with the grim realization that Earth's greatest warriors are just the beginning. Many more have been taken, and the hunt is far from over. If you love this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into your favorite shows.
Because our enemy still lives.
We must fight together.